where we're going.
What's up, you guys? Happy Saturday. So it's episode 39, apparently. I put 37 twice, so it's all running together. So I cut Braden's hair again. He won't let me cut the top, so the top's getting really long, but it was much more successful this time, and it was much quicker.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, like, you learn about your significant other's pet peeves, and very subtly they give you hints of, like, no, you should let me cut that. Does that mean it looks bad?
I'm not subtle at all. Like, the top of your hair is really long. Like, you guys, we stood it up or we pulled it down. The top of his hair, hi Nate, goes down to like here. It's just silly. So, but he did not let me touch the top. He said he wants to see how long he can get. So we're talking about having fun together, you guys. So we've done a lot of kind of serious couples things today, but today we wanted to talk a little bit lighter. It's Saturday. That's been our mojo. But kind of talking about the importance of why we need to have fun together, and what that actually does for your relationship, and making sure that you're actually doing things together and not alone.
Well, and I think for a lot of it, you guys is, yet again, we're talking about all relationships, but I think for a lot of us, if we can just simply, as simplistic, you can have all the relationship strategy and all the tactics and everything else of understanding. There's a reason why, especially if you've been in an intimate relationship for a amount of time, what happened initially when you guys first started connecting, when you first started spending time together, right? Like, how did you go about treating each other? How did you go about interacting with each other, right? And because it's everything we do, yet again, we talked about this a lot yesterday, but everything we do is corresponds around energy. And usually for most of us, and there's the old saying, like, you're the old married couple and yada, 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 that goes on to it. But there's a saying because of that, because people, I think that's the story they surround themselves with, right? Like, well, I've been in this relationship for 10 years. You know who I am. You know this is the way I am. Yada, yada, yada. Take it or leave it, right? And there's a reason why there's such a high statistic of failed relationships. And I think first and foremost, it comes with a misunderstanding of who we are as a person, first of just you as you in general, right? And then it's the expectation that, yet again, you need somebody else to solidify who you are. But I think for most of it, yeah, the easiest thing we could all do is, what did we do when we first started dating? What would, like, we don't have, like, how many times, like, well, we don't have fun anymore. We don't do anything. Well, are you bringing that to the table? Right? Like, I think that also gets brought the question of, like, well, are you bringing that same enthusiasm, that same vibrance, that same energy to the table that you're expecting your spouse to be? Because, you know what, if you're doing it, they're probably going to follow suit as well.
Well, and I know for me, I went through this phase, like most of you know, I was married before, and we definitely, like, we were super young. We got married and like 27 when I got divorced, so I was really young. But, like, we were in this super boring relationship. We didn't do anything. We didn't go out. And, like, I was bored as a human, right? And I wasn't fun anymore, and that was my own thing. But I think it's looking at yourself and going, well, what if the game of life is really who can have the most fun and who can let it be easy and who can have more joy, right? If the goal in life really is to be happy, then why are we not spending more time trying to be happy, right? Like, go out and laugh and act like a kid. And it's like, you need to understand that, like, when you're doing that, what it actually does for your soul. And hormonally, there's so many things about smiling and laughing and just like letting yourself be. And I know for me that after I got divorced, I was like, wow, I'm a lot more fun. I was snowmobiling all the time. I was playing soccer again. I was doing all these things. But I realized that because there was a point where I was living with friends. And as soon as I got, like, my own house and I had all these responsibilities again, I got way less fun. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So what I had to learn was, like, I sort of rediscovered myself after my divorce. And I was like, I really am fun. I really do like to go do things. I'm really not, like, the person that I was at the end of my first marriage. And so for me, it's been like, okay, you know what? The kids' room right now looks like a disaster. But what's more important right now is that we all go on a walk. We go outside and we play soccer. We do something fun as a family. This can be as a family or with your significant other, but, like, what if your job was to have more fun? What would you do today if your goal was to have more fun, right? Like, I feel like I love Saturdays right now in quarantine because every Saturday morning I coach breath work, which is just a beautiful, amazing, like, talk about feminine energy. That pulls me into my feminine energy and fills up that part of my soul. And then turn around and followed that with a very challenging workout. So it's called Bull.
Nice fix.
So it's 200 doubles, 50 overhead squats, 50 pull-ups, run a mile, and you do it twice, right? So it's a birthday WOD for a friend of ours, JD. So shout out to JD, happy birthday. I had to do it by myself, usually do it in the gym. Much more fun that way, but it was still fun because I could actually remember back to all the times we all got to do it together. And I knew that, you know, we have friends in their houses doing the same thing. And so it was super fun. And then we ended up cleaning out our garage because like we have mats in there and it's been winter, and you know, but it's like, can you have more fun? And what's your definition of fun? I mean, I know when Brandon and I first met, like we would go run Red Rocks. We would do like, cause fun to us was being out and being active and going on runs and doing all that kind of stuff and actually getting to do it together. And so I always tell people too, if like you feel like you're not having fun together, find something you both like, right? We're pretty lucky because we really enjoy the same things. But if you're, you know, if your husband or your wife wants to do something and you want to do something else, maybe go do it with them. See what would happen if you actually showed up for them and supported them, and they would do the same, right? And maybe it's not your favorite thing to do, but it's really important to them. So you showing up and being in that place for them and trying to understand them more and be supportive, they're going to do the same for you. And you never know, you might actually enjoy it. But what's so cool there is that like your relationship is going to grow because you're actually showing up for each other. Hi, Em. So you're actually showing up for each other and being actually supportive and having more fun, right?
Well, and we talked about that all week long, right? Is how do you fill your partner's cup, right? And I think, yet again, it's taking the emphasis off of us. And I had this conversation this morning with somebody of you know, anytime we're in suffering is we're living into the stories and we're focusing on us. And the easiest way to get out of suffering, get out of despair, get out of just the overwhelming sense is change the spotlight from us and turn outwards of how can I pour into my partner? How can I pour into my kids? How can I pour into my coworkers? Whatever it may be, right? Is when we can get out of ourselves and look at the world outside of ourselves and understand that that maybe I'm not doing my role and maybe it's my job, maybe it's my purpose right now, right? Like we haven't gone really into purpose, but maybe my purpose right now is to lead by example by pouring into my partner, right? Like we hear that all the time. Well, my partner doesn't want to do this. My partner doesn't want to do that. They don't like to go to the gym. They don't like to do these. They don't want to go on hikes. They don't want to... Well, when's the last time you did something for your partner, right? Because I promise if you did something for 30 days, right? Like you did something for 30 days of just took that time to pour in, do everything you possibly could to make your partner's life, their experience, the best they could possibly experience. The likelihood that it's going to be reciprocated and given back to you is probably tenfold than what it is now. Not to mention that if they don't want to do it at the end of that, you know within yourself, there's no doubt that you are at least trying to pour into them, right? And so above, like we've talked about values, we talked about those things, and regret is my like ultimate value of moving away from value. And so a lot of it, you guys, is we lead from the side of, yeah, but they're not doing that for me. But instead it's like, okay, maybe your purpose right now is to lead by example and pour into them. Despite whether or not they acknowledge it, despite whether or not they say thank you, eventually that will come. That's not your business, right? Like that's not for you to decide whether they appreciate it or not. Your job is to live into, well, what can I do right now and come from a place of service for my partner? And you know what? Maybe this isn't something I like to do, but maybe it will be reciprocated back to me in due time.
Yeah, and making it light and making it easy, right? I mean, like if you guys watch us before, like every live video, there's some sort of shenanigans, right? And so we, you know, I think that's
one more time.
Like it's so good for your soul to laugh. I mean, you know, and we're always working, if we're being honest. Like we're pretty much always talking about the gym or our clients or what we can do or how we can grow. And like, there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, we got to put on the brakes, right? But there's also been times where we're in the kitchen and we're jacking around and all of a sudden there's a water fight, right? And our kids are like, what on earth are mom and dad doing? And it's like, think back to when you guys first met, right? Like there was flirting and there was silliness, and like you will be happier if you find that person that you were, right? Like, so harness that inner child from yourself of that joy and that light and that ease, and then do that thing together. And I think right now in quarantine, everyone's starting to get a little bit stressed. I mean, I think I know for us, there was like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and then they turned the light back off again. I was out yesterday. We went picked up food for like the second time in this whole thing. And there's a lot of people out, right? I think everyone's getting that like, I'm done being out. But like, find some stuff you can do still at home, right? Just because you're home doesn't mean you can't, you know, find a board game, play something silly. Like go outside, go on a walk. Like there's lots of things you can do that don't require going somewhere, right? So you might have to be a little more creative, but like pay attention to, can you actually like play a game of Monopoly, right? And we have little kids, so Monopoly, we don't make it through the whole game, but if you actually let yourself do that and just slow down and be present, you're going to find a lot more joy in any relationship that you have.
Well, I think it's expanding, right? I think for a lot of us, especially as we go through our younger 20s into 30s into 40s, right? Like we get conditioned of like the only way that I can go and have fun or experience whatever is by going to a restaurant and eating, or going to a bar and having drinks, or whatever else may be, right? And so I think we kind of find ourselves kind of handcuffed a little bit of, well, my partner and I would always go do this, but that's not an option right now. So I don't really know how to connect with them. I don't really know how to experience that unconditional love with them, right? And so I think it's on the same standpoint of, yet again, is this an opportunity for you guys to expand a little bit of how you receive each other and how you pour into each other as far as connecting, right? And I will say, you know, Courtney talked a little about her previous marriage and everything else, but I know for myself, like my younger 20s, right? Like there was a lot of fear for myself, right? Like I was very wrapped up in this ego driven whatever of like I was you know, thought I was going to get into the whole bodybuilding scene and all these kind of things, and I was really fearful of like, well, if I go out and have drinks, that's going to ruin this, right? And that by looking back at that, it was my fear of doing something and experiencing something that was just 100% fear-based was actually dragging my partner's experience down as well, right? Like it was one of those things of like, I was in so much fear of what I was going to do that was actually causing us like, well, we're 22 years old and we haven't gone out really ever because you're afraid that if you have beers or cocktails or whatever, that's going to sabotage you on your journey that's going down, right? Where it's understanding that, well, just because we went out doesn't mean I had to partake in those things, right? Like I still had options that I got to choose from, but at the same time understanding that looking back that my own selfishness at that time was deterring from my partner's experience, and that ultimately I would say was probably a big reason for that relationship probably ending, because she was wanting to grow and experience new things, and I was so landlocked and focused on fear, right? Like for some of you guys, it may not be around that same circumstance, but is there fear that's running your life that's not allowing you to pour into your partner and allow them to experience these things that you guys can experience together?
Yeah, and I think on that same note, though, on the other side of that, because Brandon still really doesn't drink, and I don't drink a ton, but I have wine like pretty much every Saturday. And there for a while, I was like, why won't you drink with me? Why won't you drink with me? Why won't you drink with me? And it was like, I had to learn that I got to still have fun with him, and I got to be present, and that I got to experience what I wanted to experience, even though he didn't want to, right? And so I had to expand what that meant to me, that time spent together. It didn't matter if he wanted to have a drink or not. That was up to me whether I could have one. But I had so much guilt, right? So you can look at this, like I had so much guilt around like doing things by myself, and I was still wrapped up in all the body image and all that kind of stuff, that it was like, well, if I'm drinking by myself, then, you know, there must be guilt. But if he was going to drink with me, then it would be different. You guys like my new ring? Can you tell we have kids? I'm always fiddling with something during these videos, which is kind of funny. So this is today's. But anything else?
I think a lot of it, you guys, is just yet again, I'm always about simple, right? Like, what can you do to really just be aware, right? Like, yet again, everything we've talked about from day one begins with awareness and understanding and curiosity and connection with yourself. And the more you can do this for yourself, the more you can do it with the other people in your life, because this life is about energy. It's about connection. It's about love. It's about all the things that we've been talking about, but it's also what can you do for your experience to make your experience the best possible, and also fill into the others around us. Because I think for a lot of the stuff that we work with our clients on is, yes, we want achievement, but if your achievement comes at the cost of the happiness of others around you, that's not achievement. That's not achievement, and you're going to end up alone and despair. I mean, there's a million different stories about that, right? Of the person that achieves everything underneath the sun, but there's nobody that shows up at the end to celebrate them, right? And so if we can understand that all of these circumstances, right, despite whatever you feel about the current scenario we're in right now, we can all learn to aspire to be better people because of it, right? And if we can learn to deal with our own shit, right? Like it is what it is. Like for most of us, we have our own shit that we're so afraid of looking at and casting light on and basically digging up, that oftentimes that what it causes us the thing that we hold to on most, which is usually our partner, right? And so our goal here with the topic we've been talking about all week, you guys, is to hopefully give you guys permission to dive into your own stuff. So that way, yet again, like we've gone through relationships and I'm not going to say unfortunately, but they didn't work out because those were opportunities and those are things that we got to learn from. But ultimately, it was also one of those standpoints that our own stuff might have gotten the weight on that, which happens for all of us, right? There's a reason why all relationships come to an end or don't go or whatever. But if you can understand that your partner is in this with you together and that journey can be beautiful, right? So long as you both are willing to grow and aspire together.
Yeah. So on that note, you guys have one more day of relationships and then we're going to move on. I don't know what the next theme will be. We're running out of weeks, so we might just go back to whatever. But two things. So been nudged quite a few times that a lot of you want us to have a podcast, and you think we really should, and that you would love for us actually to upload all of these lives onto a podcast. So if you want that, if you'd like to see this, drop us a little message below. And then lastly, if you have any questions, I know we've gotten a lot of feedback on the feminine and masculine, the different energies. So you have questions on that stuff, let us know. We can always revisit that stuff, go a little bit deeper. It seems like that one's been a really big one. So if you guys have questions, let us know. If you want us to chat about something in particular, something that's coming up for you, let us know that. Yeah, and one more thing, if anybody would want to be coached live, like you're feeling stuck on something and you'd love to come on now, Facebook will let us do that again. I'm pretty excited, but I've been wondering this whole time why, like it says, we can bring certain people on and not other people.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, so that went away for a while, which was a real bummer because we were trying to do joint lives with some people.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's back now, so they've given us permission again, but I don't know why that is. So if you're stuck, if you've got something you want to chat about, if you want to do some live coaching, we would love to do that. It's super fun. Wouldn't be intimidated, it'd be super cool. So anyway, if you guys want any of that, let us know. If these videos are helpful for you, share them with your friends. Thank you for, you said you were talking to some of the Hunger for Happiness girls about these lives, so we appreciate it. So if these videos help you guys, share them so we can get more people to feel the love. So we're gonna go have some fun. You guys enjoy your Saturday afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Later, y'all.